was a typo, and I'm like, welcome to Comics League. I'm Jared, and today I figured we'll do a little surprise question and answer session about Wonder Woman because Lord knows I love the character, as you guys no doubt know. And I figured, okay, you know what? I didn't have anything else going on today, so I figured I'd do a little question and answer session. So if you guys have any questions that you guys would like to ask about Wonder Woman, DC, anything really, just drop them and I will answer them as they come in. So let's hear those questions. What do you have for me? Yeah, hell yeah, Cameron. This may become a regular thing. I'm thinking about adding a stream on Sunday, so we'll see. But so drop any questions you guys have, and I will be sure to get through them. Let's do this. And by the way, that was a really fun stream last night, talking about the various ways we would take out Lois. Those are always fun. So let me know what you guys got. What questions do you? What questions have been burning in you about Diana, her world, how DC could market the Amazons? What do you got? What do you got? Particularly if it involves like the movement, Tom King, anything like that. Hey, what's up, Omen? How you doing, dude? Good to see you. All right. So it could be like any question you have about Diana, how I would write her if we're able, anything you guys would like to know, let me know, and then I'll answer them, and then we'll have a nice little question and answer session for this, because Lord knows lots been happening. Okay, let's see. Okay, so with the exception of Cheetah presenting and Giganta, who is your opinion should be her first villain? I'd say, okay, that's actually a really good question, and Aries. Okay, that's actually a really good question. What I would have to say, honestly, here's why. Hey, what's up, Britt? By the way, if you want to join me, Britt, I'll send you a link. But here's my thing. I say Grail. Here's why. Because when you look at Grail essentially, if written right, can serve as the reverse Flash of Diana. Because as I said in my Wonder Woman villains video, she is the dark reflection of Diana. She is the anti-Wonder Woman. So if written properly, you can actually make her Diana's chief antagonist. The thing is, Wonder Woman has so many great villains that it is really hard to pick who would be her like first villain, because it's like there's so many great ones. So I'm like, yeah, exactly, NJ. Cersei as well. So there's so many great Wonder Woman villains that honestly, it's really hard to pick just one. What else you guys got? I'm here pretty much all day for you guys. But yeah, it's like it really depends on the villain. Ares or Cersei, that's true. Either of those could work because it deals with like her two worlds being like Amazon and God and stuff. So there is that. And yeah, it's any of those are valid. It really just depends on what you want to go with. But really, any of those villains work. It's not really that much of a divide if I'm really being honest on that. Do you prefer Diana being bulletproof or need to stop them the bracelets? It's a good question. Honestly, see, here's the thing about that. That vacillates so often that really it's really tough to notice, because even when Diana is bulletproof, she uses the bracelets. So I'm like, what would be the difference? But it is something from like, it does say a lot about her, like, yeah. Magical rounds should be useful against. So yeah, it's kind of like with Superman, we need special bullets. Cameron says, the thing is, I feel like Cersei shouldn't get involved unless she has this, unless she has to. Same with Ares. It's why I always thought of them not being part of the light was weird. Well, yeah, exactly. See, here's the thing. When you look at like villain like groups from like Young Justice or such, it always bothered me that they have like Superman representation and Batman representation, but no Wonder Woman. I mean, come on. I saw a gang dog work. That is not Cersei. I got news for you. That was done because Weasel is basically guns like OC. Cersei in no way is that weak. No. Under no circumstances is Cersei that weak of a character. Because I'm sorry, if you were trying to say that Weasel was moving at super speed, the animation did not show that. It just showed him going at regular speed. So I'm like, that doesn't work, bro. It literally doesn't. So that was one of the issues I had with line wide event idea. Okay, that's a great idea. That's a great question, Britt. So for me, there's a couple of different ways you could go with this. You could go with, does it involve I'm not going to do like an Amazon's invading thing because I'm sick of Amazons being the villains in a Wonder Woman event. I'm done with that. What I would do, and I said this many times, Britt and I have even talked about this on the show, that it could be interesting for a line-wide event that affects all the DC books, have the gods go to war with the Justice League, because the gods are fickle and jealous of the adoration that the League gets. Because remember, the Greek gods, the Greek pantheon at the time, essentially were the Justice League at their time period. So they've grown jealous of the love that Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman get. And that is 100% in line with the gods. NJ says Cersei reacted to speedsters like Wonder Woman's. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, that is my one thing here. It's like when Gunn took over, so many people were telling me, oh, it's going to be more comic accurate and more closer to the original comics. And I'm like, really? Because all the times that I have seen when he has the opportunity to do that, he hasn't taken that step. All it's done is been a method of him to make his characters the best by showing, oh, look at Weasel. He'd be a goddess or a witch or something. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not the way the comics would be. What would be your ideal living place for Clark and Diana? Personally, I have to be on an island or in a forest. Either of those could work, a cabin in the woods. I do feel like they would. At first, I think they would stay in the city of Metropolis because that's where Clark's life has been for so long. Then maybe they could move out to the suburbs or move on to an island or like a cabin in the woods. Because when you think about it, he doesn't need to live in the city to be Superman because he's got enhanced sentences, and Diana could just fly with him at any point. So it's not really that much of a it has to be this way or the other way. But so what else do you guys have for Wonder Woman questions? And by the way, I did, NJ, because you asked me a couple of times, I did read Wonder Woman, Absolute Wonder Woman 7, and oh my God, is it spectacular. Again, if we give Kelly Thompson full control over Wonder Woman, it's likely we would be in a very good place. And I think Thompson can repair a lot of the damage. And let's face it, it is damage that Tom King has done to Wonder Woman. It's that simple. It really, really is. That's the way I could see it. What about you guys? What other questions do you guys have about this? I like Injustice Wonder Woman. Because guess what? That is in no way Diana. Look, it is in no way an accurate version of Diana. Who is your second favorite Wonder Woman love interest? The problem is Wonder Woman hasn't been given a lot of good Wonder Woman's love interest development. And when they do it at the expense of Diana. Sorry if you answered this, but why is King trying to start? Because here's why. And King has been very clear on that. He sees Steve as like a self-insertion because Steve served in the military. Tom King was a CIA officer. So that's where that comes from. It's King trying to like say, "Oh, I'm with Diana," or something like that. We should start the campaign for Kelly Thompson on main Wonder Woman because I know she will cook. Let's focus on getting King off Wonder Woman first before we start that. But once we do that, 100%. I mean, if I can draft who I think would be like the Wonder Woman writers that I would love to see, Jeremy Adams, because trust me, he has a Wonder Woman pitch. He wants to write her, which is more than we could say for Tom King. And also, he is known for repairing King's damage. So there is that. Plus, he really respects the characters. Then you have Kelly Thompson, obviously, assuming that she wants to do it. Because if she wants to do it, great. If she doesn't want to do it, I'll take absolute Wonder Woman. But if she wants to do it, yeah, absolutely. Maybe Josie Campbell. If Charles Sewell wants to come back and do Wonder Woman, absolutely Charles Sewell. Like, absolutely. And said, for my POV animated series, Wonder Woman has always felt like a sidekick character made for team-ups. Injustice was the first time the character... No, she didn't... She was still a sidekick. She was Superman's sidekick in that storyline. So she was still... She was 100% a sidekick, even more so in that. She was a temptress that pushed Superman further on the level of being like a villain. So that's kind of where I go with that. It's one of those like Injustice in no way accurately or, let's be honest, respectfully adapts Wonder Woman. It just doesn't. And it was brought up because Ed Boon is a big Wonder Woman, is a big Batman fan, and he wants to make Batman the top character. And then NJ says James Tynion would be good considering. Yes, exactly. Him too, actually. That's a great idea. Tynion would be great because of JL Just League Dark, and I want to read that run. I'm going to get the omnibus for that. She was great in Just League War, exactly. War, Throne of Atlantis, she was good. Even Teen Titan, even Justice League versus Teen Titans, I felt she was good. It's when we got to like Death of Superman when they basically made her like a mouthpiece to glorify Lois. That's where I started to really not like that version of Wonder Woman. Let's see. I just realized this, but Billy could have been Clark and Diana's adopted son because, let's be honest, he embodies both their traits. Actually, how has there not been a team up with Billy and Diana? I know. I still say Cameron. Shazam 2, because it's called Fury of the Frickin' Gods, should have been a Shazam Wonder Woman team-up movie. That would have, I guarantee you, people would have shown up despite the reboot announcement to see that if it was a Shazam and Wonder Woman team up with Zachary Levi and Gal Gadot teaming up. I guarantee that. And Billy Batson is always one I've seen as a successor. Okay, that's actually really cool. What's up, Tevia? My day is going great. How about yours? I agree. She was a sidekick, but it made me realize just how much. I think DC has done a horrible job in making noise like myself become fans of the character. Yeah, exactly. DC has done a horrible job of doing that. So you are right on that. You are right on that. Julian says, do you have a favorite Wonder Woman villain? If so, who? Okay. Favorite Wonder Woman. Let me give you my top 5. I would say Cersei, Veronica Cale, Cheetah, Grail, and I have to say Dr. Psycho, because a lot of these villains are ones that either challenge Diana's like perspective, her like Amazonian-ness, or it's like it works like with Psycho. It's a villain that uses more psychological tactics as opposed to more like punching tactics, if you will. It's unfortunate how much things have gone from true Trinity to being mostly about the world's finest. Yeah, exactly. Hey, what's up, Jerry? Yeah, I'm having a great afternoon. Thank you, sir. Question. Speaking of Wonder Woman, who's your favorite Wonder Girl? A Wonder Woman supporting cast. All right. I would have to say, yeah, I would have to say if I were to go with my favorite Wonder Girl, probably Donna, because she's always seemed like the closest sister to Diana. In terms of favorite supporting cast, Julia Capitelis, because she really is that mother figure that Diana missed when she came to Man's World and left Themyscira. So I always liked that. Who is your favorite Elseworlds Wonder Woman? All right. Top 5 again. Absolute Wonder Woman. Batman Ninja 2 Wonder Woman. I would have to go with let's see, what's another good Elseworlds Wonder Woman? I would have to say Flashpoint Wonder Woman, not the movie Flashpoint, because the movie Flashpoint butchers Diana and makes her a murderer. In the comics, she was not that at all. Like, in no way was she like that. So I'm just going to tell you that right there. And let's see, what else? Kingdom Come Wonder Woman is a good one. New Frontier is a good one. There's plenty of other great Wonder Woman characters. Wonder Woman versions in the multiverse, which is really great. Batman Ninja, yeah, she was. I am really surprised on that. What is it you don't like about Wonder Woman Bloodlines, the movie? Well, because again, it's more of the Diana worshiping Steve, and the animation style went down. A lot of it was like more of Diana being used as a mouthpiece, because after Death of Superman, that's what it turned into, actually. NJ says, oh, yeah, that's a good one. I've heard that one's good. I haven't checked that out yet. Do you think Wonder Woman works best in a movie, show, or video game format? All three of those she could work well in. It just depends. It's dependent upon the project, Barry. It really goes off to like what's the script, what's the or in the gaming format, what type of game you're making. Like I firmly believe a God of War style Wonder Woman game would be unbelievably cool. Don J says, I don't know if this is true or not, but doesn't Wonder Woman's bracelets actually put limits on her actual strength? Yes. All right. That was an invention of the new 52, and I'm not sure if that's canon anymore. But what that was is that since Diana was the daughter of Zeus, the bracelets would like suppress part of her powers. And then when she takes them off, she goes full God mode. And that's like the visual you have of her eyes glowing white, which was utterly awesome. Like, she was fighting Doomsday like that, and it was so great. Bloodline, it was a weird movie. Yeah, it didn't help that we knew a new universe was going to end. Yeah, exactly. I think maybe the worst Wonder Woman. Yeah, that is the worst Wonder Woman. She was manly, but also put herself in Superman and Justice into full villainy. Yes. What is the main thing required to fix Diana's world, propel her back in the spotlight? Stop emphasizing Steve. Like, if you're gonna tell me that you want Diana to be like the front and center, make her the front and center. Basically, take what Perez did and use that as a template. And what did Perez do? He focused mainly on Diana as a character and defined who she is. Didn't give her a love interest. That's the interesting thing about the Perez run. She really didn't have an actual love interest. It was more like, I'm going to develop who Diana is as the character in this post-crisis continuity. That's what you need. And stop giving her the sloppy seconds. Like, because Batman and Superman have a kid, Wonder Woman should have a kid. That is the reason for Trinity's creation from Tom King's own mouth, by the way. Do you prefer Diana having weaknesses or not? It depends on the weakness, because if you're talking about the one where if you tie her hands together, she loses her powers, no, I hate that. That's kind of stupid. Speaking of Wonder Woman, what do you think is the worst Wonder Woman story or series you've read from the decade? Worst one. Anything by in the Tom King run is number one. That's immediately going to be there. Injustice, that counts because I read it in this decade. I would say worst Wonder Woman story or series. I would have to say John Burns not with John Burns Wonder Woman, but maybe like maybe Earth One, because they had a lot of weird stuff in that series that I'm like, yeah, I'm not digging that at all. The closest thing she had to a love interest was thinking Superman was hot. Yeah, exactly. That's the closest thing that he had, ironically. But it was like they didn't make it, because here's the thing about Steve, even on that. Steve was not a love interest in that book. He wasn't. He was like more of a father/brother figure. And then essentially he could give her aid as like an ally. I am not against that whatsoever. I'm just going to tell you that. I'm planning on rereading the Perez one. Do it. I've only read the first omnibus of it. I'm waiting for them to reprint the others, which since they've been reprinting a lot of this, it's most likely that we'll get the other two, because I'm going to pick those up and read the crap out of those because it's so good. Earth One Wonder Woman was weird. It's very Grant Morrison in that, you know, it's weird when the Nazis had orgasm guns. So I'm just like, yeah, there's a lot of revisionist history about Steve. Yeah, because in the Golden Age, he was created as a love interest for Diana, but when you go to like, let's say when you go to like, again, Perez, that's why I say use that, because the Perez run is literally like iconic. When you have people talk about the Perez run, talk about Wonder Woman runs, that is the one that always comes up. They must revive Sensation Comics, even if a writer like Kelly Thompson or anyone who cares for a Patel reference in the main book. Well, yeah, exactly. That's true too. They should give her, and that comes from making Wonder Woman sell more. But assuming they can do that, if they were to go with a Sensation Comics, which is basically like her detective comics to like flesh out her world, that is a great idea on how to get more exposure to her world, because that's the other problem that Wonder Woman faces, is that her world is relatively obscure compared to particularly the other members of the Trinity. So if you have a book that particularly highlights that, it could still have featured Diana, but also features like other Amazons, the Wonder Girls and stuff, explains more of her lore. That is definitely something you can do. Tevia says, what's your opinion on Fury, who is Wonder Woman's daughter from New 52 Earth 2? Oh, yeah. You mean Donna Troy? Yeah, that was pretty interesting. It wasn't like, it was like Steppenwolf's father, so it's still, I mean, a daughter, so it is kind of weird on that. But overall, it was like, I see what they were going for, and that's an interesting way to do in Earth 2. It's not my favorite execution for that particular concept. Down J says, do you like Wonder Woman in the Marvel vs. DC crossover lines where she fought Thor and was able to lift his hammer? Yes, but I don't like how she puts it down, because she's like, it's not fair. And then Storm just electrocutes her and wins. I get that it was because of the X-Men's popularity of the time, but I still feel it's kind of stupid. Dragon says, I will say I do like Gods and Mortals, but that was a good Wonder Woman actually as well. I definitely like that version of it. It's a new version. You can like make the Wonder Woman raise an apocalypse type of idea there. It works really well. Absolute has solidified to me that Wonder Woman needs to be written more like Thor. Certain elements, because going full on into like Greek mythology is working really well for Absolute. Hey, what's up, Sean? And would you like it if they made Ares more of a complex villain? I mean, they did something in I think it was the G. Willow Wilson run, when Ares was going to be where like Ares shows up and he goes, hey Diana, I want to like redeem myself and be like a hero and stuff. So you could actually do that really well. I think that would be really fun. And you could even make Ares a hero, because can you imagine what a cool idea that would be if it's Ares all of a sudden is a good guy? That would be nuts. She's invulnerable to any type of light. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, that's why that doesn't make sense. Even ignoring that she would later become the daughter of Zeus. She's been struck by lightning before and been fine. I'm like, how does this work? I don't like that. Jargon says, plus Becca was able to burn a bit of the platinum, and she is entering the sun. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of Wonder Woman, if you read Wonder Woman Rebirth or she thought Darkseid was used, I thought that was really cool. That's when Wonder Woman Rebirth got good, because previous to that, it got really contrived and stupid in my mind. Like, I've never been back to the island. Explain why Superman and Deathstroke were on the island, lady. That doesn't work. And I will say, one evil Wonder Woman I see is Dark Knights. Okay, Dark Knights battles is pretty interesting. Do you prefer Wonder Woman as an Amazon or demigod? Well, she's always going to be an Amazon, Sage. But if you're talking about being a demigoddess, it depends on the story. I've said this before. My thing with the Clay origin versus the Zeus origin is I've read good stories that have really made use of the Zeus origin, and I've read good stories that have done the Clay origin. So to me, it's like depends on the story. I prefer the Clay origin personally because of what that represents for Diana's character and what she's supposed to represent as a feminist icon. But I'm not 100% against the Zeus origin because of like some fun stories that they've been able to do with it. Metal Cheetah, Wonder Woman, that would be interesting. I have noticed some characters leading, with all that. Does Wonder Woman have such a event where she leads? Not necessarily, and that's one of the things she needs to be more of like an A-lister, because you're right, a lot of those characters like Batman, Superman have 100% gotten these events, and that's part of why they get like all this cool stuff hyped on them, because that's one of the reasons why people know so much about the world, because when you have a line-wide event, everyone is exposed to it, because no matter what you're reading, if you're reading Wonder Woman, Justice, or something like that, you're going to inevitably read into the world of the character that's leading the event, if that makes sense. If Wonder Woman decided to leave back in secret identity, what day job? You could do the ambassador, or you could do like maybe she's a college professor of Greek mythology. That would be really cool. I'd be down with that. I mean, I was kind of excited to see this one, and she got taken out with one punch. I was like, thank you, Scott Snyder. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Wonder Woman, who's your favorite evil Wonder Woman story? I don't like that at all, period, because that's what people. I don't like the evil version of the superheroes. Like, that's just me. I'm just gonna tell you that right there. That's the but they need one that's good. Okay, Johnny, when you read the actual Wonder Woman tie-in to Flashpoint, it explains that, and it's a little better. I'm gonna give you that. Do you think Cersei and Mainline softening up a bit and having a sister like Diana help her in a massive way? Rock explored that dynamic in it. Yeah, but then he undid it, if I remember correctly. Personally, it's like I'm not a big fan of it, because here's the thing. I don't like the Wonder Cheetah ship, because you're putting Wonder Woman with a cannibal. I get that, like, and I've heard it say that the curse corrupted Barbara, but according to DC lore, here's the thing. Barbara is the one that corrupted the Cheetah's curse, according to DC lore. And I believe that's current continuity. I mean, if you can give me a good story of that, fine. But as of yet, I personally have not read that. That's just me. I prefer as an ambassador. Yeah, you could do that, or college professor. That works. Then when she reveals her identity, she can brag, we got taught by Wonder Woman. Exactly. See, and that's how you can have some fun with that. We don't need evil Wonder Woman's villains being friends. Yeah, exactly. I'm against like turn everyone's villains good because I'm like I don't want. I'm against like really sympathetic villains because then they stop being villains. What is sad is that the League of One could easily fit in the DC AMU with minimal changes. Yeah, exactly. League of One also is a great Wonder Woman story. I'm not sure if it's Elseworlds, but it's kind of gone back and forth if it's Elseworlds. I think it is, but it's a absolutely fantastic Wonder Woman story. Speaking of Wonder Woman and Tom King, if you were in charge of DC Comics, how would you fix the character as a whole? Assuming I could do whatever I wanted, immediately retcon the King run out of continuity. Like make it where that was like a bad dream or that was Cersei all along. It was Cersei all along. But she doesn't have a daughter. Make it so Tom King never touched that character. Eliminate that. Keep Steve Trevor dead. Make it so she never had feelings for him. He is basic. Here's the thing about Steve Trevor. He's a plot device to get her off the island. That's all Steve will ever be. He's not her Lois Lane, no matter what Tom King tries to tell you. I'm beginning to see one of his mistreatment. I am a normie, but I know that these events, no offense to Aquaman, but even he has Dawn of Atlantis, one of them. Yeah, exactly. And so it's all good. And that's part of why I started the channel is to help educate people and provide like another perspective on these characters. I've always been confused on Cheetah. Who came first, the chicken or the egg? According to current continuity, I believe it was it was Barbara was like manipulative and she corrupted the cheetah curse, if I remember correctly. Shergan says, I mean, DC has been making Harley Quinn a hero, anti-hero, Deadpool character, like, however, she is a child murderer. Yeah. Harley's one of those things where if you look into her history as a normie, you're like, want me to she has killed children. So I'm like, no, I am not going to use her as like this big inspirational character. I'm not like that. I don't respect Harley Quinn as a character. I just don't. It's not one of those things that I really think works because it's like I get that you want to redeem the character, but I'm like, no. Diana making Lizzie out of her own blood and clay would be a great way to retcon it. Yeah, what I would do is I would retcon it that I would essentially that's the thing. How do you retcon it out? Because they try to establish that it was made by like the strands of fate of Steve and Diana. I honestly I would make it, since it's so confusing, I would just make it where it's just Diana's hair and then her blood, and then there you go. That's how you do it. Retcon out Steve as having any role in Trinity whatsoever. That's it. I just realized why it's so hard for DC Comics to make a good Wonder Woman event. Like, I don't get it. Because there's not a lot of writers that really understand her. We're like, there's not a lot of Kelly Thompsons. Let me put it to you that way. So anyone crying for Steve to come back from the dead? I know no, I haven't seen a lot. I have barely seen anyone, Randy, say Steve should come back to life, because Steve is like one of the biggest, like most worthless, useless characters that DC has. He serves zero purpose for that. I'm just going to tell you that right there. I don't think it's bad to have some sympathies for a villain, but you still have to make sure the character, the villain's choices. Yeah, exactly. I'm not just going to forget what she did. I mean, she killed the goddess of love. In one of the old Batman cartoons, did Poison Ivy give Harley Quinn a potion to enhance her physical abilities? I don't remember. That may have been a thing, but I don't know. Also, if I were the head of DC in charge of Diana, immediately suggest Diana or was immediately fired. Yeah, exactly. Like Mark Millar, that was their idea for like a 90s version of Wonder Woman. It's the R word of Wonder Woman story. And I'm like, no, why are you doing that? Let's see. Which is surprising because I assume Steve's death would at least get headlines from Alfred's. No, because no one cares about Steve. That's the thing. And honestly, that's what I think that's why they killed Steve, because he's a plot device and no one has done anything good with him. So it's to the point where DC is like, let's kill him, keep him dead for many years, and then maybe bring him back. I still wouldn't, but that's just me. I actually like Steve Trevor to a certain point, but he feels like one of those long time, but not the one love interest for Diana. Yeah, exactly. I think Diana can keep Steve as an important character. Well, yeah, do what Perez did, because Perez just made him a brother slash father figure for Diana. That's what you do. You don't go, okay, we're going to make him a love interest, ignoring the fact that he really isn't that much of a love interest for her. So, yeah, that's where I really stand on that. Steve, in my opinion, should be the old war veteran that's there. Yeah, exactly. Again, Cameron, that's what Perez did. That's why I say, in order to say rehabilitate Diana when it comes to what has happened for her in recent years with the King run and such, use the Perez run as a as a model, and then base everything else off of that. Because Perez gave the best model on how to write Diana. And you know what? He gave the model that is demonstrated to have worked, because the Perez run of Wonder Woman is universally beloved. There are some parts of it that don't age well, but as far as I know, that is one of the most beloved runs in DC Comics history, not just Wonder Woman's history, but DC Comics history. Honestly, maybe it's just me. I think they should have at least let Steve Trevor go out like a badass, similar to the first Wonder Woman movie. Yeah, but he's not one in the comics, so I'm fine with him going out like the useless guy he is, because again, he went out like the role he serves in Wonder Woman, like a nothing. That's really it. So it's actually appropriate for the role he serves in Wonder Woman's world. So that's what I'm going to leave it. If Diana is condemned to not have a female love interest, which is an absolute shame, by the way, do you like the idea? No, because and by the way, it's not necessary. I mean, to not have one. Yeah, okay. I'm not a big fan of Martian Manhunter having Diana's love interest. It's really not, because as far as I know, they're not compatible as superheroes. I don't think. That's why, again, if we're talking about Justice Leaguers, it's Superman. At least in my opinion, it's Superman, because there's no one on the that Diana knows, arguably, that understands what she goes through being an outsider like Superman does, and having a double life like Superman does. And that's just and before anyone says that when they dated in the New 52, it denigrated her and made her a Superman's girlfriend, reread again, because it didn't. It objectively didn't. And anyone telling you that is lying and didn't read the book. A friend of mine has a weird amount of love and said, a friend of mine has a weird amount of love and says the only problem with the Perez run, if I'm being like your brother, rather than love interest. Yeah. How would you fix Donna? Because this girl definitely needs an origin that isn't complicated. Honestly, just make the origin that she was saved by Diana in a fire and adopted by the Amazons. That's what you do. Stop with this whole, she was like an Amazonian thing, that she was created to kill Diana and all that stuff. Don't do that. Retcon that out. I think Diana is bi, but I don't understand the idea of her being with a woman needs to be shown. Well, she's not. And that's the thing about DC. Any Wonder Woman writer can say that, but until DC editorial says so, and according to what I personally have heard from Josiah Axelrod, who writes a lot of the Pride books, DC legit doesn't consider her that way. Case in point, because Josiah was writing the encyclopedia, if you will, of the queer characters in DC, and asked if Diana, she has stated herself, asked if Diana can be included, and the people that were behind Wonder Woman said no. So that tells me that it's an conscious effort to not do that. And isn't John outsider too, and last of his race? Well, yeah, but I think the problem with Jean, I mean, if I can't do Superman, maybe, but when Superman's an option, I personally think Superman understands it a little more, because when you see it, because Martian Manhunter is not looked to as the ideal superhero. Wonder Woman is looked to as like the pinnacle female superhero in the DC universe, as Superman is. So she understands, she and he both understand that pressure that comes from that and how to cope with that. So that's why I kind of like it more with Superman than Martian Manhunter, but I'm not like vehemently against it, if that makes sense, NJ. Question: speaking of Wonder Woman or supporting cast, how would you give Wonder Woman Cassie Samurai Crone series again, or what story would you use? I don't know what story I would do, but maybe you could do a Wonder Girls series. I'm not. By the way, Wonder Woman Wednesday this week is going to be on which Wonder Woman character I think could give one. Oh, John is emotionally detached and far more distant. Read JLA 105. Yeah, exactly. Particularly in like the Wade run as well of Justice League Unlimited, he is very much like detached, and it gets into the Wonder Bat territory in terms of that, because that's what Bruce is. Bruce is 100% detached. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not like digging that. As Wonder Woman fans, I gotta ask, why do you guys like the last Invisible Jet so much? They are iconic and have always been lame compared to Sword and Bracers for me. Or not seeing the potential. With me, it depends on the threat that she is facing. Because if she's facing like average guys, yeah, she doesn't need a sword and shield to fight like everything. But if it's like Doomsday or Darkseid, yeah, break out the sword and the shield. Because Diana's trained as a warrior, and as a warrior, she selects the tools best equipped for the job. So it's more like, it's very, for lack of a better term, mission specific, if that makes sense. Right? If I gave Lois the Steve powers, I would have the villains humble them and her story asks, why is it not a good? Yeah, I'm wondering why they didn't do that with Zois. It doesn't make sense. I like the sword because it should be her last resort, but always on the table. Yeah, exactly. And this is where I clash with some Wonder Woman fans, because they always like the sword and the shield should never be used. And I'm like, no, it's not like it should never be used. It's just like it shouldn't be like the first option that she goes for. That I agree with. What other questions do you guys got? I wish we lived in a timeline where Clark and Diana and Steve and Lois. Yeah, that would be great. If I wrote that storyline with Steve Trevor and Lois Lane dated, I would call it United in worthlessness and all that stuff. That's what I would do. That's kind of what I would roll in with that. But what else? Give me some more questions, people. Let's do this. What other Wonder Woman related questions do you have? Would you like to answer? I am here to answer all of your questions. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Where's your least favorite moment in the Wonder Woman comics? When Wonder Woman made Sovereign carve Liar into his chest, that's my least favorite. That is 110% my least favorite. That is, there's no defending that is not something Wonder Woman would do. Dude, the Sword and the Shield is so cool. You can hate Injustice, but she's killing the Sword and the Shield. No, I love the Sword and the Shield. I'm just saying it depends on the threat that she's facing, because not everything has to be confronted with the Sword and the Shield. I'm fine with the Sword and the Shield as a concept, and I get it, but it can't be the only tool she uses. Should Wonder Woman lead the Justice League over Clark or Bruce? Well, funny you should say that. That's really interesting when Mark Waid said that like Clark and Diana are the co-leads of the Justice League book, and you can feel in that book. So I really like that. NJ says then DC should have stopped those writers from no, because here's why they did that. Here's why they did that, NJ. Because DC will never say either way. They'll just never they'll never weigh in on it, because if they do it, then they can't market Wonder Woman overseas. They just can't, because of too many countries that aren't as accepting as of gay people. But when it comes to saying no, that also puts them in a very precarious situation with that community. It's like I always say, pay attention to who they put on the merch, because if you notice, whenever they do Pride merch, they put Nubia on it. Because here's the thing, Nubia is, for lack of a better term, the gay Wonder Woman. She's a great character, and DC has done a lot with her. But in terms of marketing on Pride merch, it's Nubia. So it's not necessarily like it's not necessarily like teasing it and stuff. But and here's the thing, NJ, a lot of that stuff also, it's general enough that it's really up to the reader's interpretation. So a lot of the stuff that people point out as like hinting at Diana's bisexuality, I don't see it. That's just me. And if you see it that way, that's totally fine and valid. Britt asks, how would you make the Amazons more relevant for the current time of Marvel DCU? Connect them to man's world with the embassy. You got to do that. That's part of why Wonder Woman left the island, to connect man's world to Themyscira. And that way you kind of have a cultural exchange of ideas and sorts. So it really depends on the story, but definitely connect it to the outside world and have Amazons like share what makes them unique with man's world. Because that's part of why Diana left the island. Some people hate Superman with Wonder Woman, but have no problem with Joker and Harley. I find that kind of disturbing. Exactly. When Joker and Harley Quinn are referred to as couples goals, yes, they were after the first Suicide Squad movie, then you know you got issues. Speaking of Tom King, if you were forced to have Sovereign be the main villain, I wouldn't. So that's it. I really wouldn't, because there's no way to salvage that character. If you want to market gay Wonder Woman, then that's what Nubia is. Because Nubia, they have made it explicitly at the most gay, 110%. There is legit evidence of that. That's what DC does, because they know that. And before you say Elseworlds, that's not the main universe Diana. Like Dark Knights of Steel, yeah, you could do that because it's Elseworlds that likely they won't market to like a large group. And even with Absolute Wonder Woman, here's the thing. If that takes off like it is, because that's like the side Wonder Woman that's like doing really well, I think that's going to lead to a decreasing likelihood of that happening as well for Absolute Wonder Woman. Now, I could be wrong and that could happen, but that's just as of the evidence we see now. There you go. Idea for using the last base to approach peaceful problems first, resort to storm. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's an escalation, but she lets the enemy escalate the threat. That's the way I kind of see it. Diana said in the canon story that she doesn't have a boyfriend. She continues to say, I must also say I don't have girlfriends either. Well, I'm not saying that like Diana wouldn't be like accepting of gay people, but I'm saying see, here's the thing. That's the problem with that is that when Rucka does that, he also tried to put Diana with Batman. So in terms of Diana's like sexuality and romantic like attraction, Rucka is the last person you should be taking as an authority. And again, DC writers can do whatever they want, but it's like they're not going to. But as long as editorial doesn't weigh in on this, there is no definitive answer. And too many people treat it like it's a definitive thing. So I'm like, no, that's not the way that this works. And in terms of that scene, yeah, I'm not saying that Diana wouldn't be an ally of LGBTQ people. She definitely would. But I still don't think she is. Because again, it's like, if she is, she has never dated a woman since leaving that island. Never. And the way DC kind of does it, she never will. I'm just gonna be completely frank with you on that one. But hey, it's fine. DC also confused. Look at Harley Quinn is not the. Here's the thing: Harley's not popular anymore. She's not as big as she used to be. She was big because of the movie, the Suicide Squad movie, and then she didn't get it gets that much. Case in point, their idea of like marketing Harley was the fart comic. So that tells you again, she is not like as popular as she used to be. And it's not because they made her bi. I don't want to be misinterpreted as saying that. But when you're saying Harley Quinn's popular, that's not that. No. So that's what I think. Why hasn't DC Comics just used Yara Flor? Because they because they have Nubia. That's the thing. That's what Nubia became. And Yara Flor is not Wonder Woman. So Diana is the only Wonder Woman you're ever going to have. Because that's the other prediction I have. When King leaves Wonder Woman, there is no way that I don't see anyone using Trinity ever again. I just don't. How huge a Wonder Woman solo book would be if Charles Soule was writing it. She would act way more in character. And honestly, because Sewell is a bigger name now, because you add that she acts consistently, and Sewell definitely emphasized her world as well as Clark's in the Superman Wonder Woman book, I think it would sell really, really, really well. It would it be in the top 5? Maybe not at first, but I do think if Sewell is on it, there is a good chance that it gets to that point. And that's partly why, again, I push him as like maybe a possible Wonder Woman writer in the future. Because if there's one person that really gets her, it's Sewell. It is 110% Sewell. So, what other questions do you guys have? I'm enjoying doing this. I may make this a regular thing then. It can be on anything Diana related. Hopefully things will change and see you a data woman for once. Don't know about you, but I'm pretty hopeful. But here's the thing, NJ. Here's what I'm going to ask. What demonstrable benefit to her popularity would them doing that bring? Because there's an argument that would cause more people, particularly nowadays, to drop the book, and that would lead to a ding on her popularity. So I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying there is an argument to that. So because also there is precedent that when they have done that to characters, like retcon that in, that it led to a decrease in like sales and popularity for the character. So I'm just saying that when you look at John or Tim Drake or anything like that, that's the precedent. So unless because here's the thing, DC would do it if there was a demonstrable monetary gain from doing it. Because here's the thing, the only other time DC would do this is if in the Wonder Woman movie she was bisexual or gay. They're not going to do that, I can guarantee you, because they need to be able to market these movies overseas, particularly in China. And trust me, that is not going to sell well in China. So that's what I'm going to tell you there. Because I don't think, because it's just like, unless that they have that DC sees a significant monetary advantage of doing it, they're not going to. It's just not. A case in point, you could say Dark Knights of Steel, but here's the thing: Diana and Zala are not the main characters of that book. Arguably, it's Clark and Bruce, but it's not a significant part of that book. It's an element, but it's not as big of an element as some people like to say. It gave people just a mark. It's not necessarily that. It's more like it would lead, because if it would add more people, yes, but arguably it would lead to a significantly more decrease to people jumping off the book, because nowadays with how many characters you have all of a sudden going into this and being stereotypical gay people, you would lose more people than you would gain, in my opinion. Why do you think DC never gives Gateway City the #1 Wonder Woman city? To me, Themyscira should be treated like Smallville. Wonder Woman needs a Gotham Metropolis. She had Boston. I think she has Boston currently, or at least in the previous comics, or Washington, D.C. So she does have like a city. It's just they don't really emphasize it that much, at least in my opinion. Randy says, the thing about putting two characters together is a relationship has to benefit both characters, not just one. Yeah, it would. That's the thing about Wonder Bad. It benefits Bruce, but it does not benefit Diana. Being with Superman benefits both. Because Clark gives her like that perspective on wanting to be like not Wonder Woman all the time. And they said that in the new 52 really well. Do you like Wonder Woman the Mortal? I haven't played that game, so I'm not really going to weigh in on this. but I do plan on checking that out for sure. What other questions do you guys have? Shoot them away. I'm here for a while, so let me know. It has been revealed many times the concept of gender is meaningless to the Amazons, in my opinion. This should be explored with Diana. Her and the Amazons would love whoever they love, and neglecting is bad. But here's the thing, NJ. That also sounds like people denying that there are straight Amazons. The best way to think about this, NJ, is in the book Why the Last Man, because at one point the protagonist comes across a like all-female prison that has been built into this society. And there are some women that engage in relationships together. Yes, that exists. But there are also some women that don't. And when asked about it, they say just because we're all women does not mean we're all lesbians. And that, or like, it also denies the existence of like asexual people. So assuming that because she comes from an island of only women, she must be that way, that ignores that other like possibility. I guarantee you there are straight Amazons or Amazons that don't have feelings for women. I guarantee it. It's just DC doesn't explore that as well. Question: speaking of Wonder Woman and writers, what other writers do you think could take over Wonder Woman? Donny Cates? No, I'm not a big fan. I don't think Donny Cates could do it. I mean, let me be clear. Maybe, but I feel like he's too much on the heavy metal-ish like iteration of these characters. So I'm kind of like, if he's reined in, yes, I think he could do a good job. But personally, for me, it's a three-way tie among Jeremy Adams, Josie Campbell, and Charles Soule. Those are my three primary Wonder Woman writers. And if none of those can do that, then you can bring in the runner-up of Donny Cates. That's just what I'm gonna go with right there. Yeah, it's like there are a lot of great Wonder Woman writers, but the problem is you also have to find writers that want to write Wonder Woman, and on the sad truth is not a lot of good writers want that. It's kind of where you're falling in terms of that. I might be wrong, but I think they need to give her an iconic sale. I got the college jump thing. If you made a Wonder Woman video game, would you want to take place in Themyscira? Because again, that way you explore her world, and the Amazons, you can explore Amazonian culture. That is rife for a video game. That is 110% rife for a video game. That's why I think she kind of needs that, because again, it exposes more of her world. What else do you guys have for me? What other questions would you guys like to see and to get answered? Or what points would you like me to address? I'm here to answer all of your questions. Okay. If you were to have Yara Flora get her own series, what story would you do? I haven't really thought about that, but I have to read more of Yara in order to jump in on that, because I, unlike Tom King, don't like to weigh in on stuff that I haven't read. If you want a Wonder Woman movie without going through another origin movie, I think Spirit of Truth could be perfect. Spirit of Truth, or if you want to use the JLA marketing, League of One, do that. That 100% works as a Wonder Woman movie, because that's kind of that's a Wonder Woman story. If ever I read one, like the way I see it, League of One is a Wonder Woman story that's labeled as a Justice League story. That's kind of where I see it. A team of Kelly Thompson, on the main book, NJ, that would be the biggest, like, oh yes, because Matea De Luis's work on Absolute Wonder Woman on issues, I think it's 6 and 7, have been stellar, and him working on the main Wonder Woman book would be incredible. Would you play a Wonder Woman game based on the Arkham series? That would go, yeah, I would, because that using a lot of the Arkham mechanics, like the blocking and stuff, That would 100% work, I think. How would okay? Britt asks, how would you rewrite Nubia becoming queen without killing Lyda? Just have Lyda step down, or like put this way: if I were to do it now, I would have Hippolyta come back to life, get her out of being a god. That's probably what they're going for. But what I would do is have her say, you know what? The Amazons are doing fine with you as a queen. I would rather, I'm going to spend time being a subject rather than a queen. Because I've spent my, if you're going by the Perez origin, entire existence as the queen of Themyscira. So I'm going to spend time as a subject and servant of Themyscira itself. So you have, so you make a Wonder Woman's choice. I mean, Wonder Woman, technically yes, Hippolyta's choice to step down as queen and keep Nubia on the crown. Right? Because Lyda's on Olympics. What interaction would you want to see? How would you write them? 1 second, actually. Next question: if you were to get Wonder Woman animated series, what stories? League of One. You could do Gods and Mortals would be the first one. Just do that one for the origin. You could do Trial of the Amazons. You could do Hikatea. Any story from the Greg Rucka, Paradise Lost, any of those. Because she's on Olympus. I would love to see Hippolyta like poke fun at Zeus. You could do that. You could also have Hippolyta train with Athena and like fight and stuff and beat Athena in combat. So it starts like a rivalry. And yeah, that's kind of where I would start with that. Or you could also have like Hippolyta like becomes maybe a patron for Diana and like helps her instead of like talking through a goat's head like a demon. So Hippolyta should live with Diana in her apartment. That's a great idea. I like that. Yes, that's fine. Yes, exactly. How about a Wonder Woman game with Diana going through the underworld to rescue her sisters from Hades? That's another great idea. One of the best features of the PlayStation is regularly saving civilians. Yes, that would definitely work. I would like that. If you were to do Amazon's Attack for an anime movie, how would you do it and make the good story? Like, don't do what makes that story a bad story. Because what makes that story a bad story is the idea of it's a lot of the issues I have with the story is Tom Tresser like landing on Black Canary and saying, "Oh, you're a soft landing," and like them starting plot points, then dropping up and stuff, and no one. I would actually have like it was Cersei impersonating Hippolyta the entire time. That's what I would do, and that explains why Hippolyta is acting out of character in that. Yeah, it's kind of what I would do, what I would go with that. It's like make it so she's like, so it's not Hippolyta. That's the other thing. It's like that is in no way Hippolyta. Does Themyscira have regular civilians? Yes, they do. They do, and I believe all of them are trained for combat, but I believe it's like not everyone is like a warrior per se. I think it's kind of like they do with ancient Sparta, where everyone was trained. If in the event everyone like the army needed everyone to pick up a sword. So what else do you guys got? What other questions about Wonder Woman, Hippolyta, the Amazons? What would you like to hear answered? Or what would you like me to weigh in on in terms of like Wonder Woman status quos and stuff? Oh, do you think DC's answer to the question of if Diana is buying, and no, because she is buying multiple Elseworlds like recent Dark Steel and teasing on the main line here and there. Do you think DC's answer to the question of is Diana's buy yes or no? I think it's no. Honestly, I think it's no. Based upon what I have heard from actual DC editors, I think it's no. But I think it's like main universe no, Elseworlds that's fine. I think they're more open to Elseworlds because it's like they don't necessarily have to lose the marketing for an Elseworld story. And plus, if it's an Elseworld story that like really focuses on that, probably not. But if it's like Darkness of Steel, where it's like a bonus in the story, if you will, I think that that's fine. And I think that like in terms of like, and by the way, NJ, again, me saying no is based upon JJheat actually having conversations with DC saying they told me I couldn't. She basically said that DC told me I couldn't use Diana in the Pride book. How would you make Etta more important? Actually have her like you could, since we don't know where Julia is. How about have her be like Diana's like sister figure in Man's World that like helps hang out with her, teases her and stuff. Plus, also because Vanessa Silver Swan and in prison, you could like have that where like Etta takes on the role of Julia and Vanessa temporarily while they're dealing with their own stuff, and she like helps Diana like learn stuff about Man's World, teases her about her obvious feelings for Clark, etc. So there is that. There is that. Speaking of Wonder Woman and current status quo, I'm wondering what would you do to fix her current status quo post King? And you know you can't make it all a dream. Again, I make it so that was Cersei impersonating Diana. That's it. That way you eliminate everything from there. And even Trinity is a construct of Cersei. That's it. The entire thing is a construct of Cersei. What comic should I read to correctly explore Themyscira? Gods and Mortals from George Perez is the best one. Wonder Woman Historia as well is all about the history of the Amazons, and it is really, really, really good. So Historia and Gods and Mortals are the ones that I would do. What if there was a story of Wonder Woman hooked up with Aquaman and Child how powerful Aquaman's the other one where I could see it because he understands like the two worlds thing. So I guess maybe how about a what if story where Lois dies at the end of Doomsday instead of Clark and Diana comes in and helps him with his grief? Yes, that'd be a good one. She was buying bombshells in a story where they wanted the attention of the Amazons and later kissed her, and that's also when she's the main character. Yeah, but it's not like Wonder Woman. It's still DC bombshells. So if she's the main character, it doesn't. If that's like a very main central plot point of the book, I don't see them putting emphasis on it. But if it's like a bonus that they put in there, yes, 100%. It's fine. DC will most likely do it in Elseworlds, 110%. That's where DC will do it because that's like the easiest where they can, for lack of a better term, give that representation, but not take away from or like not cause undue controversy with the main book, because for good or bad, that would cause controversy. Again, I'm not weighing on if it's good or bad controversy. I'm just saying it would cause controversy, and DC is very adverse to causing controversy. Live action, how would you do an actual Wonder Woman live action show that's not a prequel feature the Wonder Girls? Just have, you could make it like a team up show with Diana and the Amazon and like the Wonder Girls doing stuff, kind of like Titans, but not like Titans, like actually written very well. So you could kind of do that in my mind, I think. So what other questions do you all have? Let's see what else do you got? Because I got all the time in the world to hang out with you guys. And yeah, this was fun. I may actually make this a regular thing because it's really enjoyable doing these regular Q&As. That's fun. What other questions would you guys like to see from Diana? What's the status quo? Do you want to see? Because it could be really anything like that. What else you got? They really need to bring Julia back. Yes. Oh, I definitely agree with that, NJ. They need to. Hopefully, the next one bring her back. Yeah, because that's what you do to highlight a world. Because that's like for lack of a better term, Julia is Wonder Woman's like man's world mom. That's what she is. And she served a very, she even taught Diana English when she came to man's world. You can't let go of that. You just can't like eliminate that from an essential character like that from Diana. And it's like, yeah. New question. Speaking of Wonder Woman status quo, I'm just wondering what's your favorite status quo from post crisis era? Really, George Perez, because I take Azzarello as an Elseworld story because of how separate it is from DC continuity. It's from like the other stuff happening in the DC universe. It's really easy to consider it an Elseworlds. I just remember, didn't Cersei have a daughter post Christ? I don't remember. I know what you're talking about because I think she did have a daughter. Let me see. I don't know exactly what happened to Cersei's. I think Cersei's daughter died or something like that, and that's why she went all a villain, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. I will read more on that and get back to you with that. Because after all, when it comes to this show, what I pride myself on with Comics League is that if I don't know anything, I will go read it and learn it, and then give you a what's the word, a report on it, for lack of a better term. But so what else do you guys want to do? Or if you guys want to talk about Wonder Woman comics, whatever you guys want to talk about. If I remember, I think her daughter gets killed by the gods. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Tevia. So it's like, if like that's kind of what I'm going off of, or that. So what? Yeah, that's kind of where I'm, because I'm like, I think I remember reading the gods kill her, and that's kind of why Cersei did like Amazon's attack, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that, but it's not likely because I am the Lord of Comics. How would you fix Vanessa? Ignore it completely. Like, don't even address it. Just make it so she's not even Silver Swan anymore. Just completely refresh the character and make it so that never happened. That they never talk about it. Because in my mind, that gives Tom King's run the respect it deserves. Don't even talk about it. That's the other thing. That's the other way we could like retcon the King run. Don't even address it. Just pretend like it didn't happen. That's what you do. Excuse me. Owen says, if a massive DC finally happened for Diana, which Wonder Woman villains would be perfect? Gods, kind of. The gods or Cersei would work. Or Veronica Cale and like Psycho or something like that. What's your favorite Wonder Woman moment from the Trinity Rebirth series? When they have to team up with Kid Diana to escape from like their dreams. That was pretty peak. I like that. I want her to be her new Wonder Girl and team up with Diana in missions with the next writer. You know, Vanessa is a Wonder Girl. That's not a bad idea, honestly. Like, why hasn't DC done that? Because that would be that would be actually really, really good. And again, that's why, again, Trinity is useless, because here's why. So many of so many of her places are already filled by better characters, like Vanessa, like Donna, like Cassie, like Yara. There were so many better characters than Trinity that work. So I'm like, no. So I'm like, that's why I say do not reference Trinity ever again after the run. By the way, so I learned from a buddy of mine that King actually does not get royalties from Trinity because she is a derivative character. And here's the thing. This also kind of makes me a little upset, because it's like, okay, wait a minute. So you have no reason to push this character then, other than to say we have the daughter of Wonder Woman. Well, you won't pretty soon. I actually agree. It's time for Cassie to pass on the mantle. Yeah, give Cassie her own thing. I would say, dude, I must really disrespecting this Dr. Psycho character if they believe they could be a DC-wide threat. I mean, he does mind control and mental manipulation, and that is severely like a big threat. He's kind of like a weaker version of Maxwell Lord in some ways. I just realized, why haven't we seen Wonder Girls in other teams besides Donna? And of course, she's in the Titans. I mean, Cassie was in Young Justice. Could be again because no one knows what to do with them. So there have been other writers that want to do that. Like I think Philip Kennedy Johnson wanted to put in Cassie with someone else, so maybe it was Jeremy Adams, but DC said no, so it could be. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if DC is keeping the King run, short of tie-ins, extremely separate from the DC continuity so that they can just ignore it. So that makes it much easier to ignore. That's why they don't have a lot of like other DC characters showing up. How about if Max Lord tried to mind control Steve and have him attack Clark with a kryptonite dagger? Ooh, that would be fun. That would be really great. Or just, yeah, actually, that would actually work. That would really work in terms of adding in some drama. I do like that. As much as I hate the story of Superman's sacrifice, I think that could actually work really well for that. What other questions do you guys have? We'll do a couple more and then I'll log off for the day. This has been fun. Yeah, I think I may add in a Sunday Q&A. I think it'd be really fun. It can be anything. Okay. Donna and Cassie. Oh, wait, hang on. Which Wonder Girl, in your opinion, needs to be Nightwing so they become their own thing? Donna kind of has done that already, so maybe Cassie. Donna and Cassie should be in a lot of Wonder Woman stories in the main book and make them an essential part of her life. I hate when they always ignore. Yes, they should. They should. Particularly Donna. But yeah, they definitely. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that, NJ. That they should get more emphasis in the Wonder Woman stories than they deserve. And again, always remember that when King was coming on Wonder Woman, he had several he had a list of things he didn't want to use in the Wonder Woman book, and the Wonder Girls were on that list, followed by the gods in a Wonder Woman story. So he only included them because the fans pressured him, and I have a theory that originally that those are just different Amazons that he wanted to have in there. But when DC told him to put the Wonder Girls in, he just Command F and like text replace the names, which explains why Donna, Cassie, and Yara do not act consistent with their characters in any way. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Steven drama, if he was brought back to life as an undead servant of Hades and dies again, it would affect her, but that would be hilarious to bring him back just to kill him again. That would be hilarious. And honestly, it's something I may not be 100% against. It would be hilarious. For the meme alone, it would be funny. What else you guys got? Can be any question as it relates to Wonder Woman, her world, and such. What else do you have for good questions? Or just like stuff you want me to talk about in terms of her status quo and such. A supporting cast. What other characters do you think should return or lead their own series? Return is like practically everyone from the Perez run. Don't bring back Tom Tresser or Trevor Barnes because in my mind they are useless. Let's see. I just realized we haven't seen her. Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of her cast. I feel like Ada was also pressured by the editorial. I'm afraid of what King will do to her. It seems she and Emily have been kidnapped by the Mouse Man. Yeah, I know, and it is utterly like mind-bendingly stupid what King has done, because again, he claims that he has this vast comic knowledge and that he read a lot of Wonder Woman to get prepared, but I don't see it. Like, in no way do I see any of his preparation for writing Wonder Woman. Do you think Wonder Woman should wear a less revealing outfit like her absolute one? In the comics, I'm fine with it either way. In movies, maybe, honestly. Questions. Who are the Mouse Men? It's a Silver Age Wonder Woman villain, if I remember correctly, Tevia. I don't necessarily know because, again, so of all the villains he could have picked, he picked someone that like no one knows or really cares about. That's funny. If you were to choose, Diana eventually becomes Queen of Themyscira or Goddess of Olympus. Queen of Themyscira, because Diana doesn't want to be a goddess. I mean, it depends on like if like there are other options, or if it's like it was in the New 52 where there was no other option other than a bad guy getting the power of Hades. Other than that, I'm like, I would prefer it if it's more like she becomes, instead of becoming a goddess, she becomes like the queen. Plus, you could say that's like she's always like meant to become Queen of Olympus. So there is a way of doing that really well, I think. Speaking of one woman being a goddess or queen, if you had to be a goddess of truth, what story? How would you do it? Basic. I don't know. In terms of story, how would I do that? You could honestly do it like they did in the New 52 with the Goddess of War, but make it truth, because that's more in keeping with Diana's character. And you can have it where like she know if she's the goddess of truth, you could make it like where she knows what she is, like a physical version of the Lasso of Truth. Like she knows when someone's lying because of her status as the goddess of truth, kind of like how when she was the goddess of war, she knew all the soldiers. So you kind of play off that and have it where like Diana's fighting like someone that used the lasso of lies, except actually no, I wouldn't do the lasso of lies, because then I would have to weigh in on King's Run, and I don't want to do that. It really depends, but that's actually and that would actually be an interesting story idea, and a way to like reference New 52 Goddess of War, but do it in a better way where you're not making her the Goddess of War again. It's one of those like ideas there. What else do you guys got? So what we definitely have to look forward to is more content. Do you think they'll give Steve Trevor powers one day? If based upon what they did to Lois, yeah, because that's what DC and these comic book companies do when a love interest has no what's the word? No like role anymore. So they just give them powers because they're lazy. Who would you blame for normies like me not knowing Wonder Woman's origins, like been by Spider parents falling from space? DC, because they don't actually mainstreamize do it that much, and they change her origin so many times, whether or not it's Zeus or Clay. It's like in the King run, it goes from Zeus to Clay to Zeus to Clay. And I'm like, bro, you have to pick one so that people know which one to read. If you're just going to go back and forth of it, it creates brand confusion. Question for Wonder Woman crossovers: if you were able to have Wonder Woman crossover into the God of War games, just do it and like the games. In Absolute Wonder Woman #7, Hades was manhandled by all three women, and thanks to Persephone and Circe's intelligence, Hades learned the hard way that he can't separate him from Dark. So you could say, NJ, he effed around and found out. Yeah, that's 100% that. I swear, I said it last night on Super Wonder Legacy with Britt when we talked about the issue. Whenever Absolute Wonder Woman hovers in the air with red eyes, that's when you know stuff's about to go down. And see, and actually, NJ, that's a great point. That is pure feminism. And that's the way you put organic feminism, like Kelly wanted to do, but not have it come off preachy. Because that's the concern that some people have, even leading up to Absolute Wonder Woman, where it can get preachy and too like, I am woman, hear me roar thing, as opposed to like making it where like it's female empowerment. There's a difference between the two. And Kelly Thompson understood the assignment really well. How about a what if story where New 52 Clark can go the Injustice world where Clark and Diana bring hope to world? Yeah, they beat the crap out of Injustice, Clark and Diana, and then like say, no, this is not the way the world is going to be. We are going to fix things. That's why you do it. I mean, I think the Clay origin needs to be the primary origin. Yes, me too. It's unique and simple. This is boring, even though it does work. Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things where like if they have to make one though, because if they keep going back and forth on what her origin is, that just confuses people on which origin to read. Because if they just make a choice, that's fine. I'm like, okay. Do you think they should have a more methodologically accurate Hades? No, I'm fine with the way they do it now in Absolute Wonder Woman. I'm totally fine. I think that's totally fine. Would you want to see Wonder Woman crossover with characters from what other character would you want to see? Maybe Wonder Woman crossover with Thor again, except them actually team up instead of being like antagonists like they were in DC versus Marvel. Maybe you could do that, and because of like the gods and all that stuff. So that's a way you could do it. You could also have her team up with like Red Sonja, Deja Thoris from John Carter of Mars. Any of the typically warrior princess characters definitely cross over. Two characters I would like to bring back to Trevor and Bobby Barnes. I feel like they can enter. Nope. Trevor Barnes is a lazy character. Bobby's fine, but Trevor Barnes is a lazy character that was literally created just because Jimenez was dating a guy at a time, and that was his way of like homaging the guy he was dating. That's literally all it is. It's he is a self-insertion character. As a Greek mythology fan, I guess. I'm so tired of Hayes being portrayed as a villain. Yeah, because he's kind of not, but still, it's like he's the easiest to be used as a villain. If you wrote a Wonder Woman comic, would you go Clay or Zeus? Would you make it brilliant? I'd go Clay. I go Clay because that's the one that's like the least controversial and the one that's like the most universally accepted of the origin. So honestly, I would go Clay origin if I had to pick. That's kind of what I would do. Wonder Woman's speed, blessed by Hermes, should be displayed much more. Yeah, because she is ridiculously powerful. She has fought like the Reverse Flash and beaten him, and she's. I would say she's a little faster than Superman, but slower than the Flash. That's where I would put her on the spectrum. But yeah, they should display her being ridiculously fast way more. Marvel DC crossover with the Wonder Girls, maybe with the Young Avengers, I would say. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, she is ridiculously fast. Like when, and they show this in the Snyder Cut with Wonder Woman deflecting the bullets like this. Yeah, that is pretty much that like representation, if you will. Whereas, how do you think Laura from the Dark? Oh, Laura would beat Trinity's ass. It would be the biggest like curb stomp ever, and it would be like in honestly. Here's the thing. Here's how that interaction would go, Britt. It's like in James Gunn's Suicide Squad when Bloodsport meets Peacemaker, and then Bloodsport goes, he does everything I can do, and then Peacemaker goes, but better, and that's essentially what it would be. Trinity would go, yeah, but you're just me from another universe, and then Trinity, and then Laura would go, yeah, but I'm better than you in every way. What was the baddest? Which was the more badass. I guess Diana also chopping off. Yeah, Steppenwolf's head. That was good because again, it's like Steppenwolf put it in the position where there was no way around it. You had to kill him. That's the way you could kind of go with that. Do you think Wonder Woman should be stronger than Superman? Yeah, I think so. I think Wonder Woman should be the strongest DC hero. I was going to give you that. I mean, the Trevor thing should through the speed thing. I always thought Clark was faster. In terms of faster as compared to Diana, I'm honestly not sure who is faster. If someone in the chat wants to weigh in on that, you can. But honestly, I would go with. I still think based upon the feats, I mean, they haven't really done racing. I think that would be kind of cool. A Wonder Woman versus Flash race. That would be kind of cool because they've done that with Clark, but it would be interesting to see them do that with Barry. What else do you guys got? I mean, okay, I meant that to Trevor. Okay, so we read that. Hermes should be faster than Flash logically. Yeah, but Hermes, as far as we know, Hermes has not run fast enough that he breaks the time barrier. That's why I'm saying Flash is fastest. Speaking of Injustice, how would you fix Injustice Wonder Woman? Have it be where it's Cersei impersonating Diana the entire time. That's where I would do it. I don't know anything about Cersei. When Gunn says she was surprised she was bound, and made me ask myself how doesn't she get right 24/7? Yeah, exactly. That is in no way Cersei, and that is in no way a valid explanation for Cersei because she's not that weak as Gunn portrayed her. That was just so Gunn can have his characters beat the crap out of pre-existing characters. That's why. That's all that is. And honestly, that's again why I really don't like Creature Commandos, because that's all it really represents in terms of Gunn's like estimation of Wonder Woman characters. If you want to see how much he cares about Wonder Woman characters, look at how he treated Cersei. That's what I would say. Cersei is physically not invulnerable and taking attacks from Wonder Woman, Krypton, and Zeus. Yeah, exactly. So her getting burned by Dr. Phosphorus's hands doesn't make sense as well. So again, that is my critique of the whole Gunn will make everything more comic accurate. And I'm like, really? Because whenever he has the opportunity to do so, he hasn't. He just hasn't. So I'm like, I've given him those chances, and so far he has failed me. Doesn't mean he'll do it all the time, but so far he has failed me. That's what I'm going to say there. Speaking of Wonder Woman villains, how would you introduce Grail to the mainstream audience against Wonder Woman? Just have her be the main villain of the Wonder Woman movie. That's the way you do it. It's that's just simple, Tevia. Just have it. Don't reference Darkseid. Just start it off with her being like a random villain, and then you can later introduce that. That's what you can kind of do in that sense. What else do you got? You got plenty of time for more questions. Yeah, exactly. It never really made sense. And I'm just like that's why again that's what made me like really turn off from Creature Commandos, because I was giving it a chance. I gave it like half the series. I watched a little more. I may complete it because I feel like maybe I should, but so far it's like it's not looking good. And you notice no one talks about Creature Commandos anymore. It kind of shows that it was kind of forgettable. That's what I'm going to tell you there. It really doesn't look like it's going to last that long. With Gunn and Saffron canceling Wonder Woman 3, then Wonder Woman Gaming canceling and having 0 projects, do you trust when Diana? No, I really don't. I really don't, because he won't announce characters for movies for Diana, but he'll announce projects for characters that he wants. Or it's like, at least give an update on Paradise Lost. At least try and prioritize that stuff, as opposed to prioritizing the characters that you care about. Because yeah, this is my problem with Gunn, is that he cares more about the more obscure characters than he does about the A-listers, and he has been very open about that. So it's not like I'm taking this out of context. How about the Justice League versus methodologically accurate Titans? Oh, that would be go. That's an idea. That's another idea for a Wonder Woman-led crossover event, Britt. New question. Speaking of animation in DC, I'm trying, what story would you do for a third movie? Probably maybe the Just War, or like, you could do Trial of the Amazons, because that one really delves a lot into the culture of the Amazons and the different tribes and stuff. So that's like, if you want to, for lack of a better term, give Diana her Hush style exploration, that would be a good story for that. Darkseid should be a Wonder Woman villain, considering their connection to old and new gods. It's actually not a bad idea, really. Him being a Wonder Woman villain because of the link to the gods. That actually works. All right. So my voice is about to give out, so I think that's a good place to leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And yeah, I think I may do this as a regular thing, a Q&A Sundays, where we just where you guys can just ask me questions at the beginning of the week, and about content and stuff. So as for what Comics League content you can expect in the future, so be sure to check out Super Wonder Legacy episode 90, which was a live stream last night where Britt and I compared Superman, Wonder Woman to Daredevil and Elektra, and talked about a lot of like DC's like handling of Wonder Woman and such. And then this week we're going to be talking about misconceptions about New 52 Diana. So that's going to be really fun. And for Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about which Wonder Woman characters I think should have their own solo series. And then for This Was Great, It Should Be a Regular Thing. Well, the people have asked. The people have demanded it, and so shall it be. Every Sunday, there will be a Q&A. And so... Oh, and by the way, real quick, I'll answer this. I agree. I know some people were not pleased with Zack prioritizing a Wonder Woman film over Batman, but here's the thing. She was introduced in the second movie, so she got a little bit of introduction, and then the fourth movie was Wonder Woman. That's good enough. I'm fine with that, but it's like, you have to give me some project for Diana. But anyway, so yeah, so I think every Sunday we'll do like a Q&A for like an hour to 2, hour and a half to 2 hours, where we just talk about stuff. So stay heroic, everyone. Remember, a gigantic Cersei deserve a solo. Okay, I'll go with that. I'll consider that. Stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Steve Trevor, Steve Never. He belongs 6 feet in the ground. And Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod. Zoe is the Max About for life. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Stay heroic.